what I like to call Korean kids. Now, I have nothing against Korea as a country or Korean children, but they have a custom in Korea that they do not discipline their children until they reach a certain age, right? And it's usually around 8 or 9 when they start saying no to these kids. But up to that point, it is fair game. Now, you are in an environment where everything is being controlled very closely. We're watching everybody because those prices aren't everywhere. And we've got a guy at the front of the tour, we got somebody at the back of the tour making sure that everybody gets through safely, but also watching people like a hawk. When a Korean tour came up, it was like, all bets are off. In fact, a phrase we used is marbles on a glass table. So those are a lot of fun and a good challenge. This is the Gothic study up on the second floor of Hearst Castle. And so every now and then I would get tapped on the shoulder to do a special tour. Special tours were usually because somebody had a vested interest in the castle for reasons other than tourism. And in this case, it was a group of cinema scouts that were working on a brand new movie called Harry Potter. And they hadn't, they were just, this is before they did anything, no movie yet, just a script and these guys looking for a location, basically. Now, they weren't hoping that Hearst Castle would be the location. What they were doing was these were set designers who were looking for architectural precedent for their film. And they knew that the second floor was Gothic, or it's actually the third floor. It's the Gothic suite, and it has a lot of these Gothic arches and some of the stonework done in the window, the clear-story windows were very Gothic. And so they were, I was giving them a private tour of the castle so that they could look wherever they wanted to go, which is a lot of fun, by the way. You don't have to stick to any tour route or anything. I just go, what do you want to see now? And we go and do it. So they were taking notes and taking pictures and doing all this stuff, right? So this leads to a phenomenon that I don't mind discussing at all, and it applies to every site, not just Hearst Castle. But what began to happen then, when I came back and did a report, is that word got out that Hearst Castle inspired Harry Potter.
Oh.
And that I was somehow responsible for that. and that, then they would go they take people into the Gothic suite and say, this is the model for Harry Potter films. And the guys just start, and then pretty soon the stories got stretched even further, and this exact window here was used in the third movie of Harry Potter. And it was like, so people, guides especially, like to tell stories that appeal to people and impress people. And so we began to call these guidisms.
Guidisms.
So if a guide tells you something that's really, really cool and special, you might want to think about guidisms. And every now and then you get challenged on something like that, and then they say, oh really, what's your source for that? Michael Green, he told us. So I'm reading a newspaper clipping from San Luis Obispo, and a writer in San Luis Obispo wrote that in the article, that the Gothic suite inspired Harry Potter. Well, not really. I don't think they used anything from Hearst Castle at all. But so I ended up writing a letter to a guide supervisor who is still there, writing an email to her, and I said, "Is this true? Are you telling these people this?" And the person I talked to was Deborah. And she goes, No. I'm so sorry you had to read that. I will remind them that that's not really the truth. So here I started at Hearst Castle with some guests when I had hair.
What year is that? What year is
And
that?
this would be about 94. So, and you can tell the badges are different. They're the yellow State Park patch instead of the blue ones we were in.
There, yeah.
And that's what guides dress like back then. It depends on the district where you work. Sometimes they look like park rangers with the khaki and brown, but at least in Hearst and several other places around the state, this is the uniform of choice. So at this point, I'm doing a lot of training with new guide classes, and this is the way I got extra hours, because you know, they had a 1,500 hour limit per year for PIs, but if you could volunteer to do stuff, they would extend your hours. And my hand is up for everything. I'm volunteering for every single thing because I know extra hours. And back then, it was kind of amazing that non-peace officers could actually get overtime. Now only, yeah, I know, I see guys over here going, what? So they would put on the whiteboard as you came back from a tour, extra tours are added, overtime okay. Boom, hands up, I'm gonna do that extra tour because it makes for overtime, right? Well, that just increases my hours, and so I get close to the 1,500 hour limit. And then Karen Beery, my mentor, taps me on the shoulder and says, I want you to help me train guides. So now I'm doing even more hours, and I'm getting right before the annual year was up, I had spent all my hours. And so she said, don't worry about it. I got a 200-hour extension, still at it, right? It's cool. So I said, this is what I want to do. I want to start training guides every year. So every year, in the winter months, I train the new guide staff at Hearst Castle. There's usually about 20 to 25 new guides each year. So it's a big job. Now, one thing about when you train new guides, you have to monitor them. You have to hear their first tour, right? So we went about this in a very sneaky way. We hid. So, yes. So you're in the library now, and you see those